there?
I am, but I think
Yeah, he's here rolling.
7:20.
Oh, 7:20. We'll wait another minute or so. Is Alan been joining, coming on?
Not here.
Right, I'm saying, okay. But a lot of times he's traveling and...
Ruben's on. So Ruben is one who asked. So.
All right, so Ruben's here. We can start.
I'm here. So does this mean I have to go back to Shul now?
Yes.
And Josh was.
Yeah, I just, he's behind you. Josh Ross? He's right behind you. All right, we ready to roll?
Let's go.
All right. All right, so we left off, we finished the first parak. So today is Daf Chav Beis, Mesachas Yuma. So the Mishnah starts off, second parak, it says in Top Rishona, Kol mi sheroitze litrom es mizbeach Turim. Whoever wants to go and participate in the Trumas Hadeshan to remove the ashes of the stuff that was on the previous night, to go ahead and take it down on the Mizbeach and put it on the side of the Mizbeach, can go ahead and do it. In other words, the Kohanim used to be split up into 24 mishmaros, and each one had, and each day was divided amongst different families. So whoever's day, whichever family, so they would come, whoever first come, first serve. And however, when there were more, a lot of people were coming, people would see others was coming, they tried to race up and get there first. And whoever got within Dal Ramos, was seems to that means Zacha, he was Zaycha, he basically he had the rights. If two people were shoving, or multiple people were shoving, Hamayna Amir Lahed, the person who would count out, one of the Kohanim who were in charge, would say, he's Biu, stick out one or two fingers. Stick out one or two fingers. Also, they want to stick out the thumb in the mikdash. They only put out one finger or two fingers, and they would count around. And we'll soon see in the Gemara they would count around. Basically, pick an arbitrary number, and they'll count around. And whoever they end up on, right, sort of like an eeny, meeny, miny, mo, right? Except each person would be one or two, so you couldn't really calculate it. You don't know how many fingers people are sticking out. Well, one time, Shavim, 2 times people were coming at the same time, and they were running up and doing it. I guess it was only the 2 of them. There wasn't enough to go ahead and do a lottery. The dochaf echad mehem is chaver, one of them pushed the other one. Benafal vishva ragla, and he pushed him over, right, and he fell and he broke his leg. The kevin sharobais then shabod de sakana. Since they saw it was coming to be a sakana, his kiddush lo yatoymin as mizbeach elufais. They then said, you know what? For now on, Trumas Hadesh is not first come first serve. We'll come in, 15 minutes before, whatever it is, and we'll do a lottery then, and then we'll select somebody there. And Arba Paisus Hayuv Sham, this is a Paisus. There were 4 lotteries, the daily lotteries that were done, and this was the first one that was done, and we'll get to the next Mishnah in terms of what the others were. Fine, that was the Mishnah. Zok the Gemara on Chav Beis and Aleph. So in the beginning, why did they just start with a lottery, right? Just start with lottery. Why did it start first come first serve? So they thought that in the beginning, maybe people would think that, hey, this is just an evening, right? This is just something that is done in the evening, and therefore it's not chashuv. People won't necessarily come because it's not chashuv, and they're not going to be able to come to do the just for this lottery, and they won't come. All right, we're 4 lines down in the Gemara on Chav Beis and Aleph for those of you who are joining late. And Kevan dechazi dekasu. However, since once they saw the people were coming, Vasa de Sakana, and was becoming dangerous, Takinu le Paisa. Then they said, you know what? We're going to go ahead and have a lottery for the people to come. It's not going to become first come first serve. So what do you mean? It's considered to be a night thing. The burning of the limbs. And the fast and his back when the limbs and stuff were burnt in the evening, but the and the Rabbanan had a lottery, as we'll soon see later on, for this. So we do see that there's lottery stuff for the stuff of the night. So if removing the ashes is considered to be avodas laila, and they had for the limbs, so why don't they have a lottery for this? So they say no, that maybe is a continuation of the previous day. So therefore, that's really considered to be an avoda of the day, not an avoda of the night. So this is also associated with an avodas hayom, is avoda of a day, which is when the karbanos are brought, and not an avoda of laila. Kidesh yodov l'trumas hadeshen. If one went ahead and he sanctified, right? He washed his hands for the purpose of trumas hadeshen. He doesn't have to go ahead and rewash his hands. Shekvar kidesh mitches avoda, because his hands are already washed for the trumas hadeshen. So Gemara says, "Ema shekvar kiddush mitchila avoda." Don't say it was kiddush mitchila avoda from the beginning of avoda. Rather say it was already kiddush mitchila right from the beginning avoda for the purposes of avoda, and therefore of an avoda, but not necessarily an avodas hayom. It could be an avodas halayla. And Ika Damrin, some have a different version, different teretz. Meikara Savar Kevan Ika Aines Shina Lo Asu. They thought that maybe in the beginning that since people can oversleep, right, and therefore maybe we shouldn't have a bias. So Lo Asu, they won't come. However, Kevan the Chaz Dasu. However, once they saw that people did come indeed for the morning, they woke up early because Tsunami. Because of David Sakana Takin Le Rabbanan Paisa. Therefore, the Rabbanan said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and have a lottery for those who come in the morning because we see people are waking up early, right? They're not trying to get their sleep. They are waking up early to come do the Chumas Hadeshin, to do the removal of the ashes from the previous night. Well, what do you mean? If the burning of the limbs is also done at night, people like to sleep at night. So if you said there was no initial lottery because it was something that was done when it was dark out, when it was night, and people want sleep, so people want sleep at night. Nevertheless, they had a lottery, right, to select the Kohen to go ahead and burn the limbs and the ash and burn the limbs and the fats. So why don't they have a lottery for the removal of the ashes? So our answer is like because so Shani Migdam. So they said no, it's different. The sleep in the morning is much different at night. It's easier to stay up at night. Yes, people might want to sleep at night, but it's much easier for people to stay up late than for people to go ahead and wake up early. So Gemara asks, right? And you're telling me this was the reason of takana. Takana saha gisahavi. Actually, for there's another takana. Why? The tiny learner brisa misha zacha b'chumas hadeshen. The person who was zayich in the chumas hadeshen, right? So zacha, right? Change the lashon over there. So shas zacha b'sidur ma'arachav shnei gizer eitzim. Whoever gets the chumas hadeshen also gets to go ahead and basically stack the logs and bring the wood for the mizbeach. So the lottery didn't seem to be, it was just for the Chumas Hadeshen, and there was more chashuv parts involved, right? Building the pyre, bringing the wood. That was the purpose of this lottery. So what do you say the purpose of the lottery is? Because so someone wouldn't get injured. It appeared that the purpose of the lottery was for the zechus to go ahead and set up the pyre and set up bring the wood. Some Ravashi, no, there were two takanas havi, two takanas. Meikara in the beginning, several lawsuit. They figured people aren't going to come. People aren't going to come early in the morning just to remove ashes, right? Doesn't sound like such a chashav a kibud. So also, and however, cave in the chazid dikasu. However, they saw that people are starting to come. But also now they saw people are coming. Not only one person was coming, multiple people were coming, and people were racing and pushing, and therefore it was becoming dangerous. So takinu lei paisa. Therefore, they were masakin to go ahead and have a lottery to go ahead and select, okay, draw lots or select. Hey, you can go ahead and do it. And cave at takinu lei paisa. However, once they instituted a lottery, lawsuit. People didn't want to wake up early, right? Imagine setting your alarm, 4:00 in the morning just to get a chance to go ahead and Chumas Hadeshen. People are saying, I'm not going to go ahead and wake up at 4:00 in the morning to get there and then not be selected. So Amr Miyamar, who says they're going to go ahead and select me? So then people stopped coming. So afterwards they're masakin to say, Misha Zach b'Chumas Hadeshen Yizke b'Sidor Marachav Shnei Gizir Eitzim Kihechad Nisuv V'Nipaisav. They said, you know what? Not only, yes, you might not be selected, but not if there's a chance you're selected, not only do you get the removal of the ashes, but you also get the zchus of setting up the pyre and also bringing the woods there. Fine. 5 lines from the bottom, 2 dots, and Chav Beis and Aleph. So he said, it was man shehem Reuben v'chuli, right? When they were, they used to go ahead, when there were a lot of them, they used to go ahead and, and stick out fingers, and they would start counting and going all the way around. And Amra, Papa Pshitali, Arba Amos, the Ora, Leirotzin, V'lo'oilin B'kevish, right? So we say over there, so then our Mishnah said, right, they were Zoicha. So the Mishnah, look at the Mishnah, it says, whoever was kaida, whoever be to spend the Arba Amos within the Dalad Amos. So Dalad Amos of what? All right. So what it says, Pshitali Arba Amos the Ora Leirotzin. It's not the Arba Amos, right, of the floor of Olim Mikevish that comes into the floor, right? Because it says Ratzin to Olim Mikevish. It says they used to go up the ramp. So obviously they weren't Zeicha right, prior to them running, because they would still have to run up the ramp. They would still have to get onto the ramp. So obviously, if they were Zeicha, whoever was within the Dalet Amos of before the beginning of the ramp, it wouldn't say they would run up the ramp, because once you're within Dalet Amos of the ramp, you don't no longer have to run up the ramp, because you already got it. You were the first one, right? So so he said lo ratziv ala mikavish tonight, and kamaisa nami lo kamaisa nami, right? Low. Also, the first Dalet Amos at the bottom, it says ratzin va'elin. It says they not only would they run, they would go up, so they continuously go up the kevish tonight. The hadar, and then it says kol kaidim es chaver, all right, and then it says whoever beat his friend out. So obviously, it wasn't just the first 4 amos of the ramp, because it says, right, and this is a large ramp, so they would have to continue to go up the ramp to be zeicha. So obviously, it wasn't the first Dalet Amos of the ramp. And the Beini Nami, and also you can't say that the Dalet Amos was at some point in the middle of the ramp, right? Because there is no like point in there where you could say arbitrarily, hey, this is going to be the spot. Whoever's within Dalet Amos of this is the quote unquote the first one, right? So pshitali, the Gabi Mizbech Tana must be that whoever rose all the way to the top of the ramp and got within Dalet Amos of the actual Mizbech. Remember, the Mizbech wasn't really, the ramp is not part of the Mizbech, right? There's the Mizbeach, right, which is a very large structure, right? And in addition to the Mizbeach, there was a very large ramp leading up to it. So you had to go ahead and go all the way up the ramp and get within Dalet Amos of the Mizbeach towards the top of the ramp. And by Rav Papa, so Arba Amos Sha'amru, right? This Dalet Amos that we talk about within the Mizbeach, Shabbos said V'hadi Amma Yesod V'Amma Sovev, doesn't include the Amma of the Yesod and the Sovev. Those were 2 Amos that went around the Mizbeach, right? I think there's actually a picture somewhere. Amud Bey is a little bit. You see the picture where the ramp sort of goes over the Amma and there. So is that included in the Dalet Amos? So now we're getting technical, right? Is it Dalet Amos where the Mizbeach starts, or is it the Amma and the Sovev? Are they included? Right? Oh, or turn the page. Or perhaps it's not including those. In other words, it's the actual, the top of the ramp, which is the actual platform of the Mizbeach. Teku. So the Gemara does not give a teretz. Fine. Second line for the top and Chav Beis and Beis. And if they came at the same time or multiple at the same time, the counter, right, the Kohen who was basically authorizing it, he would say, stick out a finger, 1 or 2 fingers, right? Almost like, paper, scissors, rocks, right? Stick out 1 finger. So Tana, Haitziu, Espaseyam, Leminyan, Venimnu, Ledidu. They would stick out the fingers and they would go ahead and count, right? And they would count, and it would be a large number that they would do it. In other words, they, if there was 5 people there and they stuck out, so they wouldn't do like 25, or they see how much it is. Okay, it's just 5 times around, because since people do 1 or 2, you wouldn't know, and plus it'd be multiple times around. So they pick an arbitrary number. Hey, let's count to 38, right? And they stick out. And there's 6 people there, and they stick out 1 or 2 fingers. So you actually don't know where it'll end up until you actually go ahead and do the count. So Tana, and Messiah Rabbi Yitzchak. This is a proof for Rabbi Yitzchak. Dom Rabbi Yitzchak. Also limanos es Yisrael afilu dvar mitzvah. You shouldn't count Bnei Yisrael Jews even for a dvar mitzvah, right? Many people are familiar, like when we count for minyan, Hashia, Samecha, right? We count the 10 years of pasuk. The pasuk says vayifkedem bebezek, right? And they went ahead and they counted them bebezek, right? Bebezek, right? Bezek. Many of you know or think, right? Hey, Bezek, yeah, that's the phone system in Israel. No, right? So maybe it's based on, I don't know what it's based on, but over here, Bezek means it's basically shards of pottery or broken pieces. That's what Bezek is. So they counted them. They each person brought basically a broken shard of pottery, and they counted those pieces, and that was the amount of people there. So Master Ravash, who says that's the lashon of something which is broken? Vidilma Shema Demasahu. Perhaps it's the name of a place. Bezek is the name of a place. Because the pasuk says Vaimtzu Adoni Bezek, right? And they found the Adoni from Bezek, right? Adoni Bezek. So actually, where's the Aleph here? Right? Fine. So actually, the Aleph, right? Es Adoni Bezek, right? So they found Adoni Bezek. So Elo Mihacha. From another pasuk, it says Vayishma Sholas Am B'Kdei B'Tloim, right? And Shol, right? He heard and he counted them B'Tloim with sheep, right? With lambs, right? So he counted them with animals. He didn't count the actual people. He counted lambs, and each lamb represented a person. So they counted lambs and not people. And Omar Rebbe Elazar Kalmainas Yisrael Oiver Balav, whoever counts Yisrael violates Lav Shinoar, the pasuk says, "V'hayom Yispar Bnei Yisrael Kol Hayom Asher Lo Yimat." Right, and the number of Bnei Yisrael was like the sand of the beach, Asher Lo Yimat. Right, that one should not go ahead and count. Right, Lo Yimat. So basically, it puts a violation. Lo Yimat. Right, it shouldn't be measured. It puts a violation that one should not measure people. One should not count people. Rather, count it through another means. It says, should be measured below Yispar and don't count, right? There's two lav in there. So actually, there's two violations in there. And Amar Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani, Rabbi Yenasan, Rami Ksiv, Rabbi Yenasan took two psukim. So one pasuk says, Vayam Yisrael B'nei Yisrael K'chol Hayam. The one pasuk says, and Bnei Yisrael was like the sand of the beach, right? Which is actually a finite number. It's a very large number, right? But it's a finite number. Look, see, another pasuk says Shalayima, which can't be measured, or it can't be counted. Another, but and that one says it can't be measured. In other words, it's infinite, right? So is it finite or infinite? Which one is it? So my answer is loikasha. Two terutzim loikasha kamas man shisel aisin rutzad shamakom. One is when Bnei Yisrael does the Ratzon Hashem. They do the Ratzon Hashem. It's infinite. There is no end to Bnei Yisrael. And kamas man shein aisin rutzad shamakom. However, they're not doing Ratzon Hashem of a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Then they can be counted. And Rabbi Yomer Mishum Abi Yossi Ba'Dustai loikasha is not a contradiction. Kama de Adam. One but the Adam. They can't go ahead and count. It's too much for them. However, B'dei Shemayim, Hashem can go ahead and count the amount. Fine. Omar Rav Niloi Bar Idi Omar Shmuel Kevan Shnisnamna Adam Parnes Al Tzibur Mizasher. Right, when a person is appointed, right, he's an appointee of the community, then he becomes wealthy. Right, he becomes wealthy with that schus. He becomes wealthy. Why? In the beginning, it says they counted them with shards of broken pottery. And then the end, they said they counted them with lambs. Right, lambs are much more expensive. So therefore, in the beginning, they had to use something cheap. Right, broken pieces of pottery. And now they are using lambs, which is much more expensive. Perhaps that belonged to Shaul, right? And therefore, maybe it was his own money. He didn't become wealthy because of that. So he came, if that's the case, why did it come to teach you something extra? Obviously, to teach you that a person who is appointed by the tzibur, he will be misasher. Vayirav benachal, and his pasuk says over there, pasuk in Shmuel, it says, right, and this is right before the Milchama with Amalek. I'm just reading from the pasuk, and it's brought down on the side. Right, the pasuk says, "Vayavu Shaul ad ir Amalek vayarav benachal." Right, and Shaul came to the city of Amalek, vayirev benachal. Right, and he fought in the valley. What does it mean, vayirev benachal? So Amar Rav Mani al iske nachal, right? It basically had to do the matter of the nachal, right? To a special mitzvah, which is done specifically in a valley. And what is that? So when it came time for Shaul, he was commanded to go ahead and wipe out Amalek. So he says, "Lech v'kisa es Amalek." Go ahead and smite them and kill them all. And Amar Uman Nefesh Achas Amar Torah Havi Egla Rufa. So when one person is found dead and they go ahead and they into a valley, that's the point of a valley. You go to a valley and you bring an Egla Rufa, you decapitate a calf in the valley of the loss of one soul. So I called Nefashis Holo Achas Kam V'Kama. Well, what about all these innocent? Maybe there's innocent people amongst Amalek, right? And also, even if a person sin, what do the animals sin? Why do you have to go ahead and kill all the animals? And if even only the adults sin, so katanim ma'achatu, then the katanim, what do they do? So Yatza Baskol Amra Lo, and the Sabaskol came out and says, Alti Tzadik Harbe. Right? Don't be such a tzaddik. In other words, don't worry about the cheshbonos, right? You're commanded to go ahead, kill all the people, kill everything there, right? Destroy everything there. Don't start giving cheshbonos that, maybe I'll save some and not the others. Right? And also another time when Shaul told Doeg, go ahead, and he thought that the Kohanim were assisting David Melech. Do not be a big, don't be too wicked. All right, Al Tashia Harbe, right? Don't be too wicked. And Omer Rav Huna, Kama Deleichali, V'Margish Gavra Demare Siel Shel Demare. So we see over here that a person can be freed or spared from sickness and not worry, right? If he has the Mari Siyaya, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu helps him, in other words, a person can sin, and if he's dependent on Hashem, if Hashem is helping him, then he basically can be saved. And Shel ba'achas also lo. Shel made one mistake, and it went against him. And David b'shtayim also lo. And David had two specific errors we'll discuss, and it was not counted against him. What do you mean? Shel ba'achas mahi. What was the case of Shel where he sinned? So the Ma'aseh the Agag, right? The Ma'aseh of Agag, he was supposed to go ahead and kill all of Amalek, and he did not go ahead and kill the Agag, who was the Melech Amalek, right? What do you mean he only had one Avera? Shel had, there was another one. What about the Ma'aseh when he killed the Kohanim, right? Enough. So Gemara says, no, a Ma'aseh the Agag, already by the Ma'aseh of Agag, he was already punished. It already brought him down. As the pasuk says, Nichmati kimlachti ashal lemelech, right? He said, I regretted it for making him Shel Melech, and therefore he will no longer be king. So in other words, we see that he was already punished even for his one Avera, his transgression, by not wiping out Amalek. And David b'shtayim, right? And what were David's two? Samai, Ninu, what were those? The Uriah, Samais of Uriah, right? Uriah, he sent him out. He was Marad Malchus, right? As the Gemara says, somewhere else, that he was Marad Malchus, and therefore he basically rebelled against the king, which one is Chaim Yissafor. However, David did not go ahead and bring him before the Sanhedrin. Rather, David sent him out to the front lines, and he was killed in the front lines in battle. So that was one Avera, one Avon of Dora, was the Uriah of the Hassasa. And also, when he went to go ahead and take count of the of Bnei Yisrael, he went ahead and counted Bnei Yisrael, and because of that, he sort of brought a curse upon the Jewish people, where thousands died. What about the Ma'aseh Bathsheba? Right, he took Bathsheba right before she was, before she was officially single. Right, so Hasam actually he was paid for that. That was something that he did pay for. The pasuk says Ves Hakivsa Yishalem Barbasayim. So he says that, and for that he paid Arbasayim. He paid basically 4 times the amount. In other words, for one Aver, he paid 4 times. Yeled, right? His young child died. Amnon, his other son Amnon, was killed, and Tamar. And Tamar was she was violated, right? She was raped, right? And Avshalom was also killed, right? So all of these, right? These relatives of David Melech, they were all they were all killed or violated, and therefore that was a direct penalty to David Melech for the Ma'aseh Bathsheba. So Asanami Ifra Mine, right? The Chsiv Vayitein Hashem Dever b'Yisrael mehaboker v'ades moi. So in the case of when he went ahead and he did this census, right, this illegal count, right? So it says over there that it wasn't on him. So they said that they were also punished at the time for that, right? Why you say David Melech wasn't punished, right? We see that there was a plague that hit the Jewish people, and 70,000 people died. So over there, he himself, David Melech, was not punished. It was, the plague amongst Bnei Israel, and therefore it wasn't considered to be that he himself was not punished for it. So what about in the case of Bathsheba? He himself wasn't punished. So Gemara says no. No, he was actually punished, even though yes, his 4 of his family members were either killed or violated. I didn't happen, so it wasn't he himself, but he himself was Damarav Yehuda Amarav Shisha Chadash Nitzara David. Right, for 6 months, David was a Matzora who Parsha Min Sanhedrin. Therefore, the Sanhedrin, he was not able to go ahead and be amongst them. Therefore, the Shechina was out with him. The pasuk says, "Yashuvali Yarecha v'Yoydei Erasecha." And it says, may return to me, right, your fear, and for me to know, in other words, it's proving that he did not have the Shekhinah with him. He did not have his nevuah, right, his vision with him during those 6 months while he was in Matzara. It says, Hashiva li right? So bring back to me, right, the happiness of your Yeshua, of your salvation. Another Verahama, Rav, Kibel, David Lashon Hara. David was Mekabel Lashon Hara Legabe. I think Rashi says Mephibosheth. right? Regarding that he thought that Mephibosheth was coming up against him, right? I thought so. Yeah. 1 second.
He was coming up that he was happy that David was losing his kingdom.
Right. Okay. Right. Yeah. I remember Rashi. Right. And then he was told that, right. Then he divided his thing. Sorry, his malchus. Right. So he says over there. I thought he had it in Rashi. Fine. So it says over there. Oh yeah. It says the lashon hara al Mephibosheth Tziva, right? From Tziva, I guess that was reported, right? Tziva reported to him about Mephibosheth's actions, and he believed it. So Marian says no, that was the opinion of Rav. So he says no, he goes like Shmuel. Rav Huna holds like Shmuel. Damar lo kibel David lashon hara. He was not makabel lashon hara. So I will Rav Nami Damar kibel David lashon hara ha iframine. But according to Rav, who says he was makabel lashon hara, right? He was punished for that. Damar Rav Yehuda Rav B'shash Amar Lo David Mephibosheth. One of them was Amarti Atav at Siva Tachlukas Asad. So he says you and Siva will divide the field. You won't get all yourself. Because you believed it, right? You therefore the Malchus will not be divided amongst them. Rather, Rechavam Eravam, they'll go ahead and divide the Malchus. And regarding Shaul, it says Ben Shana Shaul Malcho, and he was one, right? Shaul was one when he got his Malchus. Amar Rav Huna Keben Shana, he wasn't exactly 1 year old. Rather, Keben Shana, he was like a 1 year old Shaloi Tam Chet. That he was pure, right? Don't think that Shaul was a Russia, right? Shaul, he was like a 1 year old who doesn't have sin, and so too Shaul was like that. So Maskell Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says, why are we, being Dalchas so much to Shaul? Right? Why don't we say he's like a 1 year old right? A 1 year old who can't, keep himself clean, right? In other words, basically something disparaging about Shaul HaMelech. So after Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak made the statement, so Rav Nachman Siyuta B'Chalmei, right? So he had these malachim of danger of harm. They appeared to Rav Nachman in his dream. And he was worried. So Amar Nanesi Lachem Atzamais Shaul ben Kish, right? And so he realized that he basically this malachim that came to him of destruction. That he realized that he says, "Oh, I spoke poorly against the bones of Shaul. I shouldn't have said that. That's why he was like a 1 year old." And Hadar Chazis Siyuta B'Chalmei. Then he once again he saw more. Right, a malachim of destruction. Amar the Nasi Lachem Atzamais Shaul ben Kish Melech Yisrael. Right, the first time he said, "Oh, against Shaul," but then he said against Shaul, who was the king of Israel. In other words, he didn't give him respect even after the first time. And he says Shaul not only was he was like a tzaddik, but he was Melech Yisrael, also something that he did not.
It's probably talking more spiritually than physically. I mean, we're not talking about physically of a 1 year old. That's why we're talking about spiritually. That he doesn't done any years.
Right. That when it says Ben Shana, right? The pasuk wants to know Ben Shana. We know we looking at the pasuk, he wasn't 1 year old. He was already older than that, so he wasn't once the 1 year old. So I'm saying he was a 1 year old when in a good way that he
hasn't done any years spiritually.
So he didn't sin, and others say no, maybe he's a 1 year old can't keep himself clean. But then after giving that shot, later he was scared, and Malachim came scared to him in his dream. And finally, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, Mipnei Ma lo nimshcha malchus Beis Shaul. Why did the malchus of Beis Shaul not continue? Because he came from clean, right, lineage, right? He came from lineage, and why is that a big deal? The Amar Rav Yechon Mishur Rav Shimon ben Yotzadek. Ein ma'amidin parnes al tzibur elim kain kupa shel shratzim teluya melo mechrot. Right? You don't go ahead and establish someone to go ahead and be in charge, appoint someone, unless they have some skeletons in the closet. They have some family members. Why? You got to be afraid. Why? Right? Because they'll be feared that all of a sudden, if he does bad, they'll say, "Oh, he was just like his great grandfather, who was an ovid of Avodah. He was just this, who was bad." But therefore, a person will be fearful. But if he knows that he comes from tzaddikim and he has good lineage, and there's no mamzeros or anything in his lineage, then he'll be rest assured. Oh, they can't do anything to me because I'm the son of kings, and therefore I have nothing to go ahead and worry about. All right, we'll stop over here. Tomorrow, Mr. Hashem, will continue. It's nice to be back. Nice to see everybody. And Mr. Hashem, I will be back here in Shul tomorrow. Everyone have a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Shkoyach.